and welcome to the third week of these lectures for retail enterprise and operations. Today we're going to look at situational analysis and defining the retailer. So I'm going to look at a few things within this. There's quite a lot of stuff to watch offline as well, so outside of this lecture. And hopefully an interesting activity, if not relatively short activity at the end of it. So, what we're going to look at first of all is mainly, and actually for the main bulk of it, is defining a retail store and using several different criteria of how to do that. So, how do you define a retail store? Well, there are several types of retail organisation. There are legal forms that you might use to define a store, which would typically be things like sole trader, partnership, limited liability company. And all of these have different legal implications, different tax implications, and different setups. A sole trader is exactly what it says. It's somebody working for themselves, and usually that would be some kind of service operation, although it can be a retail outlet too. A partnership would be two or more people getting together and forming a company. The most obvious version of this would be solicitors, where you'd see Bloggs and Simpson as forming a partnership for it. A limited liability company would be a limited company that is usually formed, and it can be one person behind it. It can be 100 people behind it, but it's where the company is privately owned by a group of people, by a group of shareholders, and then you have larger companies, public limited companies, which are actually floated on the stock market, and their shares can be traded up and down. You can also group by operational structure. And again, independents, multiples, franchises, and cooperatives. What we're going to do, the activity is actually based around this kind of thing. Later on, and an independent store is what it is. It's an independent. It's owned by usually a sole trader, partnership, or a limited company. There is only one of them, and they are managed by the owner. A multiple would be a small chain of stores. Franchise would be when one person buys the rights to use a particular brand, and often things like Burger King are done on franchises. They are, and Subway as well. The franchise is offered for a particular location. It's why you see quite a lot of those kind of retail outlets. The Costa Coffee is I think, well, it certainly was a franchise. I think it still is, which is why you see quite a lot of them, and them being quite a few all over the. There might be more than one in one particular high street, for example. And a cooperative is one that's owned by a group of private shareholders that take a dividend out of the organisation, but it's where there's typically a larger number of people involved with it. You can also have a look at defining a retail organisation by the range of merchandise. So a department store or a specialty store. A department store would be typically where you'd have several different brands, several different types of item, from clothing through to homeware to luggage, for example, in one store. That encompasses a range of different brands. And a specialty store exactly as it says on the tin, really, in terms of it being one type of, or one genre of item. We can also group by types of service. So that might be a self-picking supermarket, for example, where you go in and you pick the stuff yourself, or it might be a full service, which would be a kind of high-end tailors, where everything is done for you or to you. There's also a way of defining the retail organisation by pricing structure and by the pricing policy of it, be that kind of brand discount or high-end luxury or pound shop. We can think about location when we describe a retail organisation and outlet. From town centre, fairly self-explanatory, secondary centre, which is where typically a group of stores will be outside the main town centre, but would form an area. Usually these are kind of where they are specialty stores. I'm thinking of things like Savile Row in London, which is synonymous with tailoring, for example. We can group by size, which goes from everything from individual independent store right through to the absolutely massive Tesco Extras and other hypermarkets where you can get everything. So if we just think about selling convenience goods, the distinction between convenience goods and comparison goods has been extended in stores. Convenience stores should attract frequent short shopping trips. And that really is the crux of the issue in terms of when you're defining a store. It can be whether it would be a destination in itself for something like IKEA, which is a destination itself, and you can lose a day in there quite easily. Or it can be, I've run out of a loaf of bread, I need to pop around to the store and get one. So you can also group by really how much time you would spend in each store. So the range of different classifications of retail stores, just to recap on those, which rely on various different factors. We're going to focus mainly on the strategy mix and different strategies that are available to different types of store from here on in. So if we think about types of ownership and the activities based around types of ownership, I've talked about how independent stores are, that they are independent. The retailer themselves has control over absolutely everything to do with the product. With a chain, it's run by some sort of head office somewhere, and everything is as standardized as possible within it. A franchise, well, let's have a look at franchising. There's a video to watch which you can watch from the slides themselves. If you download the slides, you can click on that link below, which will take you to the video. And this would be typically exactly in the situation that I've described. The licensee, the franchising company says, yes, you can use our brands, yes, you can use our products to help sell whatever it is you're selling, and you pay us a percentage of the turnover and a franchise fee. Then you get some, just think about some structural arrangements in retail franchising. So these might be a car dealership, So the car manufacturer would offer their brand and franchise to a retailer. So and that comes with a degree of cooperation from them. A wholesale retailer, this is quite often where the franchise is more voluntary actually. Wholesalers will often have their kind of own brand um, products available. So for example, Booker Cash and Carry has their Happy Shopper range, which is their own kind of branded product. So it gives an independent retailer the opportunity to at least offer some kind of branding and brand control within their store. A wholesale retailer, which are usually cooperatives, as in they're a smaller number of owners than a PLC, but a large number of owners than a partnership. And they would typically be where you would buy into the logo, the franchise for Spa, for example, something like that. And then there's the service sponsor retail, and the best example of this is Subway, where the service is very much standardised, the products are very much standardised, but the location and of the store is very much up to the individual franchisee. There's another video to watch about different lease departments, and I'd recommend having a look at that as well, which gives you a lot more information about how to set up one of these and how to mix up franchises. You can see here where Waterstones and Costa Coffee have got together within that, and but you will also see Waterstones stores with Starbucks in, for example. So just to kind of put that into some sort of academic theory, what we would typically be looking at are 3 different types of channels as independent channels, partly integrated systems, so that would be a franchise, for example, and then a fully integrated system, which would be a full-on chain. The ownership of these will vary depending on who they are. So if we think about the strategy mix for the store, we're going to have a look at the wheel of retailing, the scrambled merchandising, and the retail life cycle. So the wheel of retailing is a concept which talks about how different retailers can move in different marketplaces. If it's a low-end strategy, what you're talking about, what factors limit you. Your customers are likely to be more price sensitive. You aren't necessarily going to have a quality feel about the store. It's going to be very much kind of stack it high and sell it cheap mentality. It's probably more associated with convenience stores, for example, and it's what you would expect to see from a corner shop. So, a lot more kind of low-end independent retailers. It's easy, it's quick to set up. If you're thinking about a medium strategy, what you're looking at are better facilities fundamentally. And yes, the price may be increased, but it's about an increase in the facilities and the service and the feel of the store. And then obviously moving up to a high-end strategy, which would be, high-end retailers, independent stores, fashion labels, for example, would come into this. That's scrambled merchandising. This would be where you would range how you can range a similar types of product within a very within the same store, and how you can add on relevant, I think it's the best word, relevant kind of accessories to that. So if we take the original merchandising mix of shoes, shoe polish, sandals and socks, but then if we kind of scramble that up with some extra bits and pieces, often in shoe shops you'll be able to buy umbrellas and gloves, and on top of the shoe polish, the sandals, socks. So it's just and often luggage and things like that you can buy in there. Wider range of shoe protectors, for example, as well. So it's just increasing the range of merchandise that you have in the store, because they are kind of linked to each other. Think about the retail life cycle. I'm sorry this isn't quite as high resolution as it could be. It's fundamentally the same as the product life cycle. If you think of a retail company as a sale, as a service product in itself, in this case we're looking at there is introduction into the marketplace down here, and that can take time to pick up. It's expensive. It's the expensive part, because this where you're putting in lots and lots of time into the organisation, usually lots and lots of advertising spend within it, but you're not seeing much return as yet, because the simple fact is the sales aren't getting up to a level which is profitable to meet that. Then there's a period of growth, and this can be quite rapid, and hopefully would be quite rapid. This is where people say, yes, I'm willing to go to use your retail store, and you get this critical mass of people, or hopefully get this critical mass of people coming to watch it. From there you get a very, what you'd hope to be, slowing growth, but still growth through the organisation, and this can slightly tail off or flatline at the end, or just become flat. So you're not necessarily growing as much. It might be if you were, for example, the top 3 supermarket retailers, and you're kind of constantly jostling for permission across them. And then there's the decline at the end of it, which would be, and what you might see are things disappearing from the high street, things like Woolworths and that type of store went into decline way before they were came into financial problems, the financial crisis in 2008. What would usually happen in this stage is you either close the company, you get rid of it, or you would look at moving very much into a niche marketplace. So you would sell a small range of products, but quite high quality within them. Oops, sorry. So we can look at defining retailers by ownership and strategy. So you have the retail life cycle here, the wheel of value here, and scrambled merchandise here, the legal form, operation, size of outlet, all the things we looked at the beginning. So you can also map these onto each other. These are some good little bits of retailing and some articles which you can look at, and it just talks about how retailers are evolving. Sorry, my teeth aren't working today, and well worth having a look at those. So how about we look at some different types of merchandising and where they would fit in. So a food-orientated retailer, typically looking at convenience stores, conventional supermarkets, a food-based superstore, something like Iceland, for example, a combination store, Marks and Spencer's, for example, a box or limited line store. This will be typically where they would sell one type of product, and usually would be something like Subway, for example. They sell one thing, but they sell it in a few different varieties, but they are limited. And then a warehouse store, which would be something really like TK Maxx, but in terms of food-orientated retailers, you'd be looking at maybe again an Iceland, where everything's pretty much stacked up, but also kind of the old wholesalers as well. Think about general merchandising. This would typically be where it's a little bit more old-fashioned within these types of general merchandising stores, or can be a little bit more old-fashioned. There are a whole range of different different types of store within this. Off-price chain is typically things like pound stores, for example. It's where the merchandising is based on the price rather than the price based on the merchandise. So we just have a quick think about multi-channel retailers. And these are ones where you would be selling online. You'll be selling through a range of different outlets. And it's not just online. It could be that you are Costa Coffee, you have your original stores, but also you have the Costa Express, which are cropping up everywhere in all sorts of supermarkets, for example. In terms of selling, you've seen an evolution in different types of channels which are available, right from kind of television sales, good old-fashioned QVC, for example, where they would sell a range of different products on there. You would phone up give the relevant code for that, and then you would buy that particular product because you've been watching the TV. But there are also different elements to multi-channel as well. In terms of direct marketing and direct selling, what you are looking for is a very much being able to define your business quite clearly, but also being able to deliver order fulfillment across a range of different outlets. And that might involve extra companies. That might, for example, most obviously Royal Mail or a courier. So you have to get several different elements right. But it can be as simple as vending machines, and different types of vending machines for different types of products. It goes without saying that it can include the web, and there's another article to look at there. So, what have we learned? We've looked at defining retailers by ownership, defining retailers by strategy mix, looked at a wheel of retailing and how different types of products can be grouped together and defined by the level of service and price, so combining different elements together. Looked at how you can add on different merchandising to an existing range, and looked at the retail life cycle as well. We've had a quick look at multi-channel stuff as well. If you want to do more multi-channel stuff, look at my third year multi-channel retailing module. It's a good module. Okay, So that's it for the session. There's obviously lots of extra stuff to read in there and extra videos to watch in there, which form the full teaching content for this week. But obviously there's the seminar session on Tuesday from 5 o'clock, 5 till 7:30 in AXB 209. And this is the activity for it, to think about the competitive advantage for different types of retailer in a range of different operational areas, and complete the following table and give examples. So there's a range of different operational areas here, and thinking about independence, change, franchising, for example. So you can complete that for it. Bring it to the session and we can have a chat about it. There's also going to be extra explanations on different bits and pieces. So it is, whilst they are drop-in sessions, they are compulsory, and they will certainly help you progress through this module and get good marks at the end. So that's it from me for this, and I shall see you at the seminar session on Tuesday.